Hello folks, what's the crack? Welcome back to another episode of Meet the Members, where we have the chance to get to know some of our lovely and incredible Ormo Baths members who call this amazing place their business home. Here today with my main man, Neil McShane from INPRIO, and unfortunately he's not wearing Doc Martens today. I was going to have like a Doc Marten moment where we're like, look at it, but I'm not wearing mine either, so...
They did come out yesterday. They don't come out too often. Every once in a while, just to bring back my childhood memories.
Exactly, just to let everybody know who's the boss. I love my docs. Like, I think I'm in probably my third year with them, so they've treated me pretty well.
I intend for these to last a long time. I'm expecting 5 years out of these.
Yeah, 3 years is rookie status. Like, there's people walking around, they're like, hey, I've had these for 15 years. That's how you know you've already taken care of them. So I wanted to ask you something I didn't know about you. You did speech and drama. So what even is that, and why does it explain everything about you?
Well, I'm not sure it does, but it was something my folks were keen for us all to do, all my siblings, and we all did it, some longer than others. Not something I necessarily enjoyed most of the time, particularly having to learn poems and Bible recitations and all sorts of nonsense. But they were adamant that being able to speak clearly will serve you well in life and professionally and whatever. So we all did it. I think I did it from the age of about 5 to about 13 or 14.
That's a good.
Before I eventually
good
flew
hustle.
Ireland. So it was a good experience, but I wasn't maybe the model pupil. My capacity for learning in advance was never good. I was a last minute crammer before the day, but yeah, I think it was good for me, and it was good for my family.
So I kind of get like, doing like piano grades or like saxophone grades or like music stuff. What was it like going in? Did you like perform a piece, or how did they mark it? Was it on like how much energy, or was it how you pronounced, or what way does that kind of work?
Yeah, it was probably a combination of things. We did dramatic duologues as well, where I would have done a performance with a good friend of mine who was doing it at the same time. So you get dressed up for those, and we famously did these performances from Toad of Toad Hall, where I played the toad and my friend played a judge or a washerwoman or a rat, and it was great fun. And I did actually enjoy those duologues. We ended up doing them in Belfast, Newry, Warrenpoint. We did them in lots of different places, and it was really good fun. But most of the time, you were just doing a set poem or some sort of learn this and regurgitate it on a stage in front of lots of people, and I suppose the criteria was speak articulately, clearly, project your voice, facial expression, all that sort of stuff, and you generally had to stand very rigidly with your hands by your side, so you were no more animated than that. It was up to,
it's like a TED talk where you have to stay on the circle. It's like, don't pace,
pretty
or
much.
cameramen can't handle it.
Any sort of body movement was discouraged. It was a case of tell the story with your face and with your voice, and yeah, we all, and as a family, we all did reasonably well with it, and I do think it served us well.
Nice.
It's not something I'd broadcast because it sounds like a real dorky thing to do. I did speech and drama.
I like the wee hidden origin stories of people. I was going to do this bit later on, but I might as well just do it now. I didn't know that you were on tour as a child, going around all these different places, and now here you are later in your life, also going on tour all these different places.
I'm not quite so sure.
I think are you the only person in here that's in a band? That's a fun fact, if it is.
I might be. I still, anytime anyone mentions it, I still sort of cringe as if it's an early midlife crisis, which it probably is.
It's the Doc Martens. It explains it all.
That's why I justify the Doc Martens. Band name should be entitled. Yeah, it was a very random one. I got a text message from someone else that I know who's also involved in property, and he said randomly, someone told me you could sing. I've since spoken to that person who said, yeah, I think you were singing that night, but I wasn't really that sure. I was in her class in university, and we were out, and there was karaoke on the go, and everyone was chipping in, but nobody could really remember what, so my name was very much just tossed into the mix, and I turned up to effectively audition for a part in this band, and I think they said yes, because it's very hard to find lead singers, and So
It's hard to say
when
no to good talent as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. I try to convince myself. So yeah, I ended up there were four of us, and we were all on properties. I knew them all through property. And
Wow.
I didn't actually know that everyone, could play the guitar or the drums or whatever.
I'm looking for some sort of Monopoly pun, but it's not coming for a band name. Maybe at the end.
You can come back. Give you some time on that one. It was. We did a charity performance. Savills, another commercial consultancy, had organised a charity doing the Europa, Belfast's Got Talent, and we were about 400 people in the room. We got up and performed a
Wow.
U2 song, all dressed up as well, which was good.
Is that your first gig?
That was our first.
That's
our
a
first
big
performance.
first gig.
It was a bit mad, but it was good. It was good.
I mean, where do you go from there, SSC?
I was wearing a wig and sunglasses, and there were people in the room who didn't actually know it was me, which is great. That's nearly the way I'm not.
That helps
natural,
it, yeah.
I'm not a natural frontman, so I quite actually liked hiding behind the glasses and pretend to be someone else, and took the pressure off a wee bit. But it was a good experience, and after that, we just said, that was good fun. Should we, maybe try to learn some other songs and see what happens, and we did, and we didn't do very much before lockdown took effect. We did one big gig actually. It was brilliant in the pavilion on the Ormer Road, and a lot of family and friends came to that. There was about 150, 160 people there, and it was brilliant fun. And we did 20 songs on the night.
Big set.
So it was really good, but then obviously things shut down. It was unfortunate, but for us at that time, we were sort of hoping to build on that, and obviously we couldn't. So nothing happened for 2 years, and we did eventually get back to gigging there just before Christmas. We had a few gigs in Granny Annie's, which was good fun, sort of getting back into it again. The pressure was back on, performing in front of real people again. But most recently we
providing the backing track for mosh pits.
Well, that's what it did. With the benefit of hindsight, it did feel like we were more sort of.
You're like, am I in a Quentin Tarantino movie here? What is happening?
It didn't feel like anyone was really that interested in what we were doing on the stage, so that was quite good as well, because I don't want the limelight. I enjoy the singing bit, but I don't really want the attention, and it worked out quite well because it was good practice, good training for us. But we then had a gig there about 6 weeks ago in the Empire, the basement in the Empire, and it was just amazing. I was very nervous because I was thinking, this is a proper music venue. There's going to be music aficionados in the room, and we're going to be under scrutiny here from across the room, and everyone was so receptive, and literally after about the second or third song, everyone was on the dance floor, and it was just electric from start to finish. It was an amazing experience, and they've since booked us for another 5 gigs. We've got a few others lined up for Goat's Toe in Bangor, and we're looking at O'Hare's in Newcastle, and various different locations.
There you go.
Maybe that tour is coming eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the name of your band?
Smithfield.
Smithfield. Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted something Belfast.
Yeah.
Something that you could relate to Belfast, and Smithfield's fairly.
Well, it's far better than my ideas for you. I was going to go for the Property Pals.
That's not bad.
which could get you in some legal difficulties. Or what about a Monopoly one? Pass Go or the Deal Breakers if you wanted to be a wee bit grungy, but I would stick with Smithfield.
They're all pretty good suggestions. On day one I had suggested the Surveyors.
Ooh.
Because we were all surveyors, but I think the other guys in the band were like, no, we don't really want.
Yeah, we want to break free from
this is not property related,
yeah.
so let's just set that aside.
I like the Surveyors. It sounds
I
like
liked it too.
like a bunch of rap battlers, like hardcore hip hop dudes. I like that.
Yeah, have you seen us?
So I wanted to clarify a bit of an urban legend with you, and I don't know if actually you're even allowed to talk about this, and if you're not, like, just smooth over it and we'll move on to the next thing. Is it true that you were involved in the actual property deal for this building, for Ormo Baths?
Yes, that is true, and
so we are in the this is the origin story. This is as far back as it can go.
Yeah, I love my job. I love what I do, and I get the opportunity to involve myself in some really interesting properties. When this property came to the market, I don't know how many years ago it is now, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I don't think it was something that my client was necessarily I don't think this was the type of property that was necessarily on his radar. But as soon as I saw it, I thought I have to get him down to have a look at this. I mean, as soon as I set foot in the reception and saw the exposed tiles, the bricks, the ceiling, I was really taken by it. And I love this type of building that has all the character, and I encouraged him to come along, and he saw it, and I think he fell in love with it as well. And he could see the potential with what is the East Wing, and we've now seen that something similar happened to the West Wing, and it's fantastic to see it transformed and brought to life in the way that the Ormo Bath's co-working operation has done. So whenever I left the company that I was with for 17 or 18 years, and I needed somewhere to go, it seemed like a very easy decision and a good match.
Yeah. And
I had no idea how long I would be here. I thought maybe I'll be here 3 months or 6 months or whatever, but I've been here for nearly 4 years now, and it is just a brilliant place to be. It really is. It's everything that it's suggested to be. This whole talk of being a community, I thought was a bit of a sort of a tacky wannabe type thing. But when you're here and you become part of it, it really is real, and it's a great place to be. I've met lots of interesting people. I love the building, I love the space, and ultimately, the people that I've got to know over the last number of years, including your good self.
Oh yeah, come on. This is what it's all about here. Love it. Tell us what it is you actually do in a way that my granny would understand.
Basically, I advise people on the buying and selling of property.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone comes along and says, I have a property, generally it's income producing, which we classify as an investment property. So if it's generating an income, then it qualifies as an investment. And
so like a building that has like a cafe in it, or
so
offices,
cafe
or
Nero, or Pure Gym, or whatever it might be. And if they want to sell it, that's my bag. That's very much my area of expertise. So I would sell properties of that nature, but equally I would spend a lot of time, if not even more of my time, trying to find properties for clients who are coming along and have a substantial amount of money to spend, and they've been successful in their own business, whether it be pharmaceuticals or farming or poultry trading or concrete or whatever it might be, and they want to take some of that money and invest it in property, and I take them through that process, finding the property, telling them all the merits and demerits of the property, and negotiating on their behalf, bringing it through from start to finish, and hopefully on completion buying a good solid asset, which is, for Ormo Baths has proved to be a fantastic acquisition for my client. And that's more or less it. There's other bells and whistles, but more or less I advise in the buying and selling of properties.
Cool. So a couple of follow-ups then. Do you charge a fixed rate price, or do you take a percentage?
No, it's a fixed fee on the way in.
Fixed fee
on the way out.
Awesome. What's the longest you've ever worked on one deal?
I was involved in a portfolio deal a few years back, which probably took about 2 years from start to finish. It was a sizable amount, it was 35 million, but it was a very complex process, lots of different parties, lots of moving parts, so it was very challenging, but we did eventually deliver at the end, and the client was delighted with the end result, so we did finally sell a very substantial portfolio for a sizable amount of money, and it was can be very difficult because you get halfway through these things and you think it's never going to end. You just have to stay motivated and do the task and stick at it, and ultimately try to visualize the end of the finish line. But I would say most deals could be sort of 3 months, so it can range anywhere between sort of 3 and 6 months, depending on the complexity of the property. And
well, I was going to ask you, what's your fastest? Anyone that just randomly took way shorter than you were expecting?
I would still say probably no less than about 4 or 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and that's perhaps shorter than that, but I can't remember because it could have been a while.
Yeah.
But generally you don't want to do any of these things any faster than that. You want to give yourself enough time for me to do all the due diligence that I need to do to be able to advise my client properly on particularly on the buy side. If you can do something quickly on the sell side, great.
Yeah.
Because you're passing on that responsibility to someone else. But on the buy side, you want to be satisfied you've overturned every stone. That when you're advising your client on the purchase, you're not just telling them all the good things, that you're telling them everything that is a potential concern or a negative as you see it. And then from a legal perspective, the solicitor advising the client has to do the same job, flag any commercial issues, any title defects, anything that might require indemnity insurance, and again that's I will work closely with the solicitor just to make sure that I'm aware of what's going on in that respect, and I can also advise the client on any commercial effects that might have on the deal in terms of value or liquidity. So you never want to rush these deals, certainly not on the buy side, but a quick deal would be sort of 4 to 6 weeks would be a quick turnaround.
Wow, very cool. I'm hesitant to even go near this question because I'm like, I think we're all bored talking about it, but give us your bit on how did COVID impact your business, if at all, positive or negative?
I would suggest that there's very few businesses haven't been affected in some way. I think some businesses have done very well out of it, but I would suggest most businesses have had a negative effect as a result. And in property, I suppose it depends on which sector you specialise in. There are certain sectors which will have been as busy as ever. For example, for a company that specialises in the management of property, you'll be as active as ever, if not more active, dealing with the various issues associated with lockdowns and whereas if you look at other sectors, and particularly for me, working entirely as an investment agent, I'm very much reliant upon transactional activity. So when things ground to a halt in March of 2020, practically everything I was working on just froze there and then. And any clients hadn't already contacted me to say, we park that, I was contacting them to say, we have to park this because we're going into the dark here and we don't know what's coming. So 2020 was a pretty brutal year for me. I ended up branching out into doing other things that I hadn't done for a while. I'll not bore you with the details, but the lease advisory things where I was advising on new leases and rent reviews and providing clients with just general property advice to help them through the process as well, because there were various issues. But 2020 was a pretty brutal year for me. 2021 was significantly better, and so far 2022 has probably been my best. It looks like it'll be my best year since launching the business 4 years ago. So fingers crossed it keeps going that way. But certainly a few tough years, and that'll be no surprise. I'm sure some had it tougher. I'm fortunate that it was just me that I had to look after through that period, and I'm thankful that I hadn't recruited at that point in time, because it would have been an extra pressure for me to carry anyone, frankly. But a big positive is that if you can survive COVID lockdowns and you can survive the turbulence that a lot of businesses have had to endure, then and you can come out the other end, then that's a pretty positive place to be, and that's certainly a big positive that I'll take. I pretty much feel like I can take anything on now, so I don't want to necessarily, but I'm certainly encouraged by that.
That's awesome. The second last question then I'll ask you is, you've kind of already touched on it and alluded to it, but like, what has Ormo Baths done for you? Because we all come in here for different reasons, and we come in here with like a different image in our head of what it's actually going to look like. Why have you stayed for 4 years, I suppose, is a better way to ask that.
I suppose I needed somewhere that was convenient to the city centre, give me access to the city centre and clients and contacts and everything else, so it very much ticks that box in terms of its location. The location's great. In terms of the space that I'm in the building, and the other people that I've got to know, it's been fantastic. As you know, I set up the football team here, and it's been brilliant, and we're hoping to get that back up and running again. and again, just through meeting these other random people who always tend to do much more interesting jobs, all very tech based interesting things. And when they ask me what I do and I say commercial property, they're like, right, so you can physically touch your product.
Yeah, what is that?
So I'm sure I seem like a bit of a dinosaur, but I've met some really fantastic people, and I've made some really good friends, and I'm sure you're also aware of the new table tennis table that has been added to the event space recently, which again is just a great thing, because you can come in and be at your desk and have your headphones on, which is more or less just closing the door of your office, and have the head down and focus. And that's great, and that's what I want to be able to do. But sometimes you can get so drawn in and so stuck in something, so stuck in a project, that you don't lift your head, and I think your efficiency levels can start to taper off.
For sure.
Whereas, if Luke comes over and says, Neil, do you want to go and play table tennis? I'm like, do you know what? That's probably what I need.
Yeah.
And I can take off the headphones and go and play 10 minutes of table tennis, and feel energized, and go back to the desk, and then get the efficiency levels back up again.
Yeah.
But it's great. I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was playing table tennis with a few guys, and there was one guy from Ukraine, and there were other people there that were just, I'd never met them before, and I got talking to them, and they were telling me about their jobs, and it was really interesting. And again, you're not going to get that in a normal working environment, where you're just sitting with other people who also work in the same industry. So I'm getting to meet lots of different people, and I've ended up meeting clients as well. So I have now clients that are based in Normal Baths as well. You're still friends of mine, but there's so many different people doing different things that I hadn't appreciated just how interesting and valuable that would be, and it certainly ticks that box. And as you know, probably better than me, there's just a constant flow of new people. Unfortunately, people that I get to know very well that move on, but that's the nature of the Normal Baths. But there's constantly new people joining, and it's great. It's a great place for that.
Awesome. All right, for the final question, we'll zoom right out here, okay, and get a wee bit more like big picture, emotional. This is the part of the interview where like everyone cries, okay? I'm only joking. If you could go back in time to an 18-year-old version of yourself, so you probably would have been just leaving school-ish, and you had a couple of minutes of 18-year-old Neil's time, what sort of things would you say to him after this wild journey you've been on? 3 kids? Is it 3 kids?
3 kids, yeah.
3 kids in the mix, marriage, business, COVID. If you could go back and give some words, what would you say?
It's a great question. I'd love to be able to do that, because when I was 18, I suppose like so many 18-year-olds, I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing, what direction my life was going to take. And I was never particularly successful in school. I was a bit of an academic disaster. I was so disengaged, so uninterested, that I found it very difficult to focus on a lot of school, frankly, from P1 all the way through to leaving school and going to university. I just found it very challenging just to get interested in anything. And my strong subjects were always maths and English, because I never felt like I had to do any work to do well and to excel in those subjects. But everything else, I never liked the idea of memorizing and regurgitating, which is what for me school was like.
Yeah.
So to be able to go back to my 18-year-old self and say, look, I know it's been a disaster, but it's going to be okay, and you're going to find something that you are really interested in, and when that happens, things are going to change very, very dramatically, and that has definitely proved to be the case. And I think my parents probably despaired, as the rest of my family were always so focused in school, and they all went on to have very good professional careers, and there was probably a big fat question mark hanging over me for a long time before I finally got a job working as a commercial property consultant, and that was a big moment for them and for me. I finally found some purpose in life.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I would tell myself, is that don't worry if you haven't been interested to date. You're going to find something. You will find something, and it's all going to work out very well. And I always wanted to have a big family when I was younger. I'm one of 6. So I always thought I wanted to have 6 kids. then I had 1. And decided maybe 6 wasn't such a good idea. So we got halfway there.
That's pretty good.
We got 3. I convinced Janet to have 3. So
yeah,
we got 3.
I love the photo.
Well.
I love the photo of you. We were holding like all of them at once.
There's not too many photos like that.
Yeah.
So that's a useful photograph to illustrate the challenge at that particular point in time, because it was
100%.
whenever I left my last job to set up a business, I left on the Friday, and Jenna went into labour that night, and Jude arrived the next day. So Charlie was 3, Shannon was 1, and Jude was just born. And I was just about to start a new business, and Jenna was like, "You're not going anywhere. Hold that."
Yeah.
So it was a challenging time, but it's been brilliant.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with myself and Neil. Really hope you enjoyed getting to know him a bit more, and I've enjoyed hearing more of his story. It's been really fun. And like we always say at the end of these, if you'd like to come and see this place, get a tour with one of the amazing staff members that work here, please just get in touch. We're always open to people who are looking to make Ormeau Bass their business home, whether you need a private office or you need a hot desk or just a permanent place to help you in whatever stage of your business journey you're at. We're here for you. And be sure to check out some of the other episodes in this series if you'd like to get to know some more about our members, or for you sneaky Ormeau Bath members who are just nosying in to get to know more about the people next to you without actually talking to them. There's like loads now. There's like tens and tens of them. I was going to say hundreds and hundreds. It's not exactly true, so I said tens and tens of them. But other than that, Neil, appreciate you, man. Really enjoyed this. You killed it. See you later.